Good afternoon and welcome to the Monday edition of Midday Brief. I am Kimini Nyamani Yamano. To come, presidential candidates of the four parties representation in Parliament will tomorrow participate in the much anticipated IEA debate in the northern regional capital, Tamale. Now we'll get analysis on what the format of the debate will be and whether it is achieving the purpose of which it was created. In Wellness today, we'll get up close with a patient who has some form of a tumor. Stay with us for details of these stories and more. Now, as part of the Institute of Economic Affairs efforts to consolidate multi-party democracy and promote issue-based elections in the country, the IEA will hold its first presidential debate for the 2012 presidential debate series on Tuesday, 30th October 2012. In Tamale, the 2012 presidential debate is expected to provide a common platform for the presidential candidates to answer questions on various aspects of the nation's developmental process.
The debates will take the form of a policy dialogue engagement at which the presidential candidates will be enabled not only to present their viewpoints, plans and programs, but also to point out weaknesses in the policies of their co-contestants and present alternatives to those policies and programs. The electorate, on the other hand, will receive first-hand information on the programs and plans of each candidate. The IEA believes that the debates will enable the electorate to make an informed choice on election day. Following balloting conducted by the political parties, the seating arrangement is as follows. President John Dramani Mahama will be first, followed by Dr. Michael Abusakara Foster of the Convention People's Party, then Hassan Ayariga of the People's National Convention, and Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo of the New Patriotic Party. The first presidential debate will be based on questions received from the economy, social sector, private sector, development and industrialization, and foreign policy. Questions will be based on what was received from the general public and from various interest groups.
Now joining us on the phone line is Dr. Clement Apak. He's convener for the Forum for Justice and Governance to help us dissect the issue further. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, and thanks for having me.
Right. What are your expectations of tomorrow's debate?
Well, personally, I'm very excited, and I'm looking forward to the debate tomorrow. As many Ghanaians, I expect it to be a very lively platform that should allow for the different candidates to present their proposals on the specified areas as per the contributions made by the different segments of society and interest groups. I expect it to be civil. I am expecting that the moderator will be fair in terms of timekeeping, allowing equal opportunities, and not coming across as being unnecessarily pressuring one candidate versus the other. And I also expect the candidates to conduct themselves in a way that would allow us to believe that each of them is qualified and capable to be president. But all in all, I expect the president to be under a lot of pressure, given that he is the man who is currently in charge, and there are three other gentlemen who are seeking to occupy the position that he's currently occupying. But knowing him too, I think that he will be able to acquit himself fairly by coming under pressure from both the left and the right.
Right, Dr. Park, I'm going to have you hold on the line. Jean Mensah, Executive Director of IEA, is joining in this discussion. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Right. Those are expectations of Dr. Park, but how different would Tamale's debate be from what we had here in Accra?
Yes, thank you very much. And well, there's a major difference between what we had in Accra, and I think I'd like to emphasize again that what we've had in Accra are not presidential debates. They were the IEA evening encounter series. Those are not presidential debates, and the series provided a sole platform to each of the presidential candidates with parliamentary representation to inform the country about their vision and their programs, and they answered questions from the electorate as well. The debates would bring all 4 candidates on one platform, and they would answer questions from the moderators. So there's a difference in style, because the encounters we had each candidate appearing on a different date, and they had enough time, about 30 to 40 minutes, to present their plans and their programs, and they answered questions from a broad segment of society.
Right. Now, Dr. Park, you had some expectations of the debate in Tamale, but really, is it going to serve its purpose as far as all categories of electorates are concerned?
Well, I think that I must definitely acknowledge that the IEA has certainly continued to play a very important role in promoting the evolution of our democracy on multiple fronts. And so we must acknowledge that and encourage them to continue to do so. And I'm particularly excited that Tamale is going to be hosting the first debate, the presidential debate of this election cycle. I happen to come from Sandema in the Upper East region, the northern sector, and we've always felt that the North has been excluded in terms of these high-profile events, political events. And so the acknowledgement of Tamale as a worthy place for such a debate to be held, I think is one that we should commend the IEA for. Having said that, some have argued that the high level of illiteracy and the fact that the bulk of the people in the northern sector are rural may diminish the extent to which this debate could impact on the final decisions that they are going to make. I certainly disagree, because it is my contention that it is not just going to be the debate itself and how the candidates acquit themselves vis-a-vis their original presentations and the questions that they would answer. It is going to have to do with the analysis after, in terms of the way they presented themselves, how they answered questions, and then the ability of the different camps to then translate the content and reaction coming out of this debate into the various languages for the people, not only of the northern sector, but of all Ghana to understand.
Right.
So within that context, I think that we can expect a positive outcome from this debate.
Jean, that brings me to you. How then do you intend to make sure that people who are not considered as illiterate or do not understand the English language, which is the major form of communication as far as the debates are concerned, understand whatever analysis is going on?
Yeah, Dr. Parks talked about that, and he indicated that I think that's the whole essence of having a vibrant media, and we have a lot of stations that we are engaging here, a lot of media houses we are working with, and we have discussed, with them to, our desire to have them translate, what takes place at the debate in the various languages. And I believe that is being done nationwide. Our main media partner is Ghana GBC, and they have radio stations all over the country, and they would be doing that. They'll be breaking down the issues into the local language all across the country to enable the electorate understand what takes place at the debates and to help them make an informed choice. So it is not only on the platform here, and it's going to be broken down into the various languages and discussed on radio.
For the purpose of information, Jean, take us through the format for the Tamale debate.
Yes, we have, as I mentioned, the 4 candidates, on the platform. We give a sole platform to each of them. We have 2 moderators who would be posing questions to the candidates. The questions have come from the general public. We have received several questions from the general public, and these have been crunched under the various sub-themes that would be for this debate. And for this debate, I think we have 3 sub-themes or 4 sub-themes. We have the economy, we have the social sector, we have the private sector and foreign policy. And we've received hundreds of questions, and they have been crunched under the various sub-themes, and a few will be chosen for this debate. We believe about 15 or 16 questions will be posed to the candidates.
Right.
And these will be posed by the moderator. Of course, the candidates would have the opportunity to request for a rebuttal where they feel that they want to address an issue another candidate has raised. And the moderators may also ask follow-ups where they feel that a candidate has not properly addressed an issue and they want more information.
Right. Thank you very much. Jean Mensah is Executive Director of the IEA. But Dr. Park, if you can still hear me. Now,
yes, I can hear you, madam.
Right. How has this helped in deepening our democracy? You're a convener for freedom and justice. How has this deepened our democracy?
Thank you, madam. My organization is actually a Forum for Governance and Justice.
Forum for Justice and Governance.
The other way around, Governance and Justice.
Right, thanks.
In any case, I think that we must all acknowledge a good and principled effort when we see one. And I think that this debate, as the other ones would also come to pass, in itself benefits us as a people in allowing the candidates themselves to be much more prepared in terms of taking time to digest their policy positions and also look at those that are being proposed by their opponents so that they will be able to communicate their own and also identify the flaws in those of their competitors.
Right.
So in that capacity alone, it helps us entrench our democracy by allowing the candidates to properly communicate what is best in the quest to serve Mother Ghana, and that is exactly what is required in a democracy.
Is it okay that the IEA gets to select the kind of questions that should be posed?
Well, I think that there is a limitation in terms of time. And as much as there can be so many questions from different segments of society, I think that the method by which the IEA has reported in terms of using to select the questions are very appropriate because there are different segments of society which face different challenges. So it is only fair that the method of selecting the questions are broad. But the issues that are confronting us, I think that are fairly obvious for most of us to understand. So the economy, social issues, peace and security, education, and what have you. They are issues that we all agree are very important for us. So I think that within the context of limitation in time, we must acknowledge and accept the proposal that the IEA has used in terms of soliciting questions for the coming debate.
Right, thank you very much. Dr. Clement Park is convener of the Forum for Governance and Justice. You're watching the Midday Brief. I'll be right back. Midday Brief brings you some news from across the world in International Brief. Next.
Defending champions Asante Kotoko finally recorded their first victory in this season's Premier League after beating Brekum Arsenal 2-0 at the Baba Yara Stadium on Sunday. After struggling to find the groove in the last 4 Premier League matches, the Porcupine Warriors were on top of their game as Michael Helegbe and Joseph Ochaya scored 2 second-half goals to end their poor run. The win lifts Kotoko to 5th on the standings and 6 points off the summit. The first batch of players have been invited for a pre-selection camp in the local Black Stars team. 27 players drawn from the Premier League make up the list of players who are to report at the headquarters of the Ghana Football Association in Accra at 2 today. The campaign begins today, October 29, and runs to Sunday, November 4. Ghana will meet Benin in the first round qualifying stage of the 2014 African Nations Championship, a competition for only home-based players of CAF's member countries.
Yes, is next. Now, at a point in time, she thought her life had come to an end and she couldn't bear the pain, time and money spent at the hospital. She experienced headaches, weakness in the body and breast, as well as discomfort and symptoms in other parts of her body, which made her life miserable. 26-year-old Gloria Chinja, a brain tumor patient, shares her experience.
I started 2007, somewhere November, December. So I was so scared the way the thing was happening to me. So I went to Mamobi Polyclinic about 2-3 times and they did the normal breast screening for me. But they said there was nothing inside. But all the time I feel pains in my body and even if I'm bathing I can't touch my breast.
She lived with the condition, not knowing what lay ahead of her. She was taken through several medical tests, which were studied by neurosurgeon Dr. Thomas Dakura at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital.
They asked me to take an MRI scan. So I did the MRI scan, and then it shows that it was in my head and then the brain. And that was what was causing the whole thing.
After she was diagnosed of brain tumor, it became a major drain on her finances and she had to solicit for funds from her church. She was afraid to tell her mother about the condition. She managed to break the news to her siblings and other friends who sympathized with her. Janet Chinja is Gloria's elder sister.
When we heard of it, we were disturbed because there was no money and we lost our father. So, and my mother too is a jobless. She doesn't have any job doing and she's a sickler. So there's no help from anywhere.
Gloria is still receiving treatment at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital and is responding to treatment. She has now taken it upon herself to educate her friends at work and at church about brain tumor and its symptoms. Gloria Chinja now bears the total cost of her treatment, a very high cost for that matter. Brain tumor is an abnormal mass of tissue in which some cells grow and quickly multiply uncontrollably, unregulated by the mechanisms that control normal cells. The growth of a brain tumor takes place within the skull and interferes with normal brain activity. It may be cancerous or not cancerous. Brain tumors, unlike prostate and other kinds of cancers, are rare in Ghana. It forms about 10% of all tumors in the country. Gliomas are the tumors that arise from the brain itself, and meningioma tumors arise around the brain. In Ghana, both types are common, but the most prevalent is the one that occurs from the covering of the brain. Currently, there are no major causes of this sickness, but there are some factors associated with brain tumor.
Most tumors are sporadic, that is, they occur out of the blue. Occasionally, they may be inherited. There are some tumors around in families, but that is the exception rather than the rule. And then certain times, people who are exposed to X-rays or radiation can also develop tumors. Other times, people who had some viral infections have also been implicated in brain tumors.
Like every other sickness, brain tumor has several symptoms that come along with it.
Mostly, the patient may come with headaches. An adult which has headaches, which has not been there before, or which tends to be persistent. They may also present with, depending on which part of the brain the tumor is, they may present with certain deficits. That is, they may come with weakness on one side of the body. They may also come with blindness certain times if it affects the area of the brain that suppresses vision. They may come with difficulty in trying to walk. That is, they're not steady on their feet. They're walking, they're falling to one side or the other. The other way that they commonly present with is seizures or convulsions or epilepsy. And that might be the beginning of a brain tumor.
Even though the cost of treating cancer in Ghana is very high, there are several treatments available for the treatment of brain tumor.
We combine several measures to try and deal with it. The mainstay usually is operation, which is surgery. Then you can have radiotherapy and chemotherapy, that is drugs. But it depends on the type of tumor. For those tumors that are not cancerous, we call them benign tumors. If you can take it out, and you take it out, all of it out, it's cured. That's the end of it. You don't need any further treatment. But for those tumors that are cancerous, they are cancer, beyond surgery, you need to give them some other treatment. And usually it's in the form of radiotherapy and or chemotherapy, that is drugs.
Treating brain tumor limits the side effects associated with treating brain cancer. Dr. Dakura gives an advice on brain tumor.
Of course, if anybody has symptoms that are not going away and you can't quite explain it, I think the best thing to do is to go to a hospital and be assessed and properly investigated, and then we will be able to pick up these lesions early enough and treat them appropriately. Those who already have the disease, I would say that all is not lost. A lot of them can be helped, and so they should seek help.
Everyone is susceptible to the condition, but early medical attention is imperative.
Really sad, but most importantly, early detection could save your life. If you have any symptoms you're not sure of, why don't you go and get some diagnosis? But up ahead in election headquarters, we will cross over to Tamale to gauge the atmosphere of the people in Tamale as they prepare for the presidential debate tomorrow. In the meantime, a 50-year taboo that forbade women in Donkokrom, a predominantly farming community, from giving birth has finally been abolished. Prior to abolishing the taboo, the women had to walk for over 10 kilometers to another community for both antenatal and deliveries. Failure to abide by the taboo attracted a sheep as a fine. Joy News' Eric Curtis Howard joined residents in Donkokrom as they held a durbar to mark the abolishment of this taboo and has filed this report.
These women here at Donkokrom, a predominantly farming community in the Esutifit district of the Brongahafo region, have every reason to celebrate. Thursday, October 25th, was their day of redemption, and their right as women was finally respected by the chiefs and elders in the community. Once upon a time, it was a taboo for women in Donkokrom to give birth in the community. History has it that the gods forbid childbirth in the community because the dead were not allowed to be buried in the community, and since the placenta of a child delivered must be buried in the community, the act was deemed as an insult to the god. Failure to do so would attract a penalty of a sheep, which was used to pacify the god. Thus, pregnant women had to walk to Shidiem, another farming community about 10 kilometers away from Donkokrom, for both antenatal care and to give birth. Adding to their woes, pregnant women had to undertake the journey on foot since there is no reliable form of transport. Meet Madame Ajua Pokua, a traditional birth attendant at Donkokum. For over 30 years, Madame Ajua Pokua would wake up at dawn to carry pregnant women into the bushes of Donkokrom to help them deliver, most especially when their time was due and the journey to Hidiem was totally impossible.
Oh, na just any ha. How no more or 4 and I had beba. It is some I see a blessing. Yes, I am 4 years be made with dry any day. And Timmy don't call you. If you are not do me, you know, you now wash a high you now, so what will be back out to me? Never do much. Me console, I go down my bumpire, the bumpire no back crowd, one yan ba, the messias at the city, what you deem as so. Now, me do a back ride, the nabby fee. Me bounce on me, Jano, now what say? And son my day, me Jana or mammy. Me Jana mamma, so I'm gradually san Marco, Mamma Hidium, Marco check a plan, Yako, say, the 1 year.
She said the job was risky since she was defying cultural norms, but indicated she is motivated by the fact that she was undertaking a worthwhile cause, even if it means attracting the anger of the gods.
See a bema majawo. No, Santa Mamma, dear one cry. Yeah, my man, ye, and to me, dear manager was old man. What dear, yeah, now show one so now the back. Hidium crana, ye beja Emma or background, while hidium, and for problem be a mero. And if I walk on one of the one called Yaquame called Daho, it be an answer, it be an nine, and son of my ba. Me ba, Naja Massage and Calais, Naja Tihonum. I walk a beer, Namdwamoko, Hidium, Kanyas, baby, and Namdwamoko.
Madame Pokua boldly declared that since she started this job, no pregnant woman had died under her care. With pride, she displayed to the news team the tools she had been using over the years to assist women in their delivery. Today, this taboo is no more, and women in Donkokrom can proudly give birth in the community after several lobbying and advocacy work by Action Aid Ghana, a non-government organization in the forefront of women and human rights issues. The Brongahafo Programs Manager of Action Aid Ghana, Christine Amachi, expressed concern that other communities were still neck-deep in the outmoded cultural practice and appealed to government to help arrest the situation.
Mommy and can see so say women's rights are human rights. Obabia fa hudie no ye onipa bi fa hudie. Sabre no de na wo kan say ye tai bu ye ni gu ema fa hudie so. Na ye nyintum say ema so eka nipa nyina ho a ehia say omo fa hudie eye nipa nyina so e fa hudie.
The Roman Catholic Church has already built a health post in the Donkokrom to assist women to deliver safely. Meanwhile, the community is yet to be connected onto the national electricity grid.
Right, I am absolutely shocked that this has existed for 50 years and women have had to compromise with this taboo. Well, we are grateful that it's no longer in effect. Bernice Sam is with World Deaf Ghana, and she's joining us in the conversation of this particular story. Bernice, good afternoon.
Hello. Good afternoon.
How could this go on for 50 years?
Well, it's unfortunate that we have such a practice in this country for so long. Just looking at our constitution, Article 26 specifically calls on all of us to ensure that we abolish all customary practices that are dehumanizing, as well as other practices that affect the enjoyment of women's rights or any other person's rights. Therefore, for women who are given life to get out of that community before they can deliver, because of a customary practice, was something that should have been addressed a long time ago. But I also want to draw our attention to the need for government to look at various customary practices that go on in this country that are dehumanizing and really affect the dignity of all of us. There is a project that has gone on a few years ago, which was sponsored by the German government, that looked at a number of customary practices in this country. Probably this was not part of what was documented, but having come to light, it's important that the Ministry of Women and Children's Affairs, the Commission on Human Rights, and other interested NGOs such as Action Aid bring to light some of these that affect the lives of people in various rural communities. So I trust that government will be able to look into this matter by the Ministry of Women and Children's Affairs and the Commission on Human Rights, visiting those communities to assess the situation, to look at the mortality rates, to look at the challenges that women have to go through in giving life, and to be able to address this as a national issue. It should not be left to an NGO to go in and advocate for an amendment or abolishment of this practice. It has to be something that has to be done by the government.
Right. Now, watching the story, I asked myself, why is Donkokrom overpopulated? Or what is exactly the need of Donkokrom? Having had women advocacy groups in the country for a very long time, one NGO after the other, does this suggest that penetration is very low?
I will endorse what you've just said, that it is a big country. Many of the women's rights groups work in the cities. Some of us work in the rural areas, but it also depends on the area of our work. I'll just give you an example with two NGOs. The Boulder, for instance, works on legal literacy, where we educate people to know their human rights, where we educate people to know about the laws that affect their regular life, the life at home. And through this empowerment, in some of the communities we work, they have been able to challenge some of the customary practices that are dehumanizing against women and children. The second example is the ARC Foundation that works on domestic violence and is working to empower people and to educate people to do away with some of the myths around violence against women and children. But of course, due to funding challenges, we can't be in every part of the country. It's good that you've brought this to our attention, but I would say that the fact that we haven't identified this particular problem is because we don't work in those areas. Obviously, if WOLDAP worked there, we would have raised the issue. But I'm glad Action Aid works in that area. So as we go about our work, as we identify customary practices that are not proper, that are discriminatory, we bring these to the attention of the government, which has the mandate to either abolish it through law or to put in place programs that will empower the people to do away with such practices. So let me give you an example. A few years ago, the government abolished trochophy and female genital mutilation, as well as cruel widowhood rights. All these are presently criminal offenses. Those things were abolished because there was research done by NGOs, by the government itself. It was taken to parliament and laws were made against them. Similarly, we can push this as an issue that should go before the lawmakers so they can abolish some of these practices. I also recollect a case that happened in the central region where women who were said to be witches were not buried in the communities. And so children of such women had to find other cemeteries outside of the community to bury their dead. One judge, where a case came before him, said that that was a discriminatory customary practice and abolished this through a court ruling. So there are various channels we can use to do away with some of these customary practices. But of course, I will put the responsibility squarely with government. Government has the manpower, has the resources, has the ability to be able to go in and address problems like this.
Right, so we could say then that there are many more women in similar communities having been neglected by both government and women advocacy groups and NGOs alike.
I would not want to dwell on the word abandoned or neglected because, as I said, we all have our mandate and we have limited resources. I mean, if we had so much money, we would be in every part of the country working. We don't have that money. But there are community-based organizations, there are faith-based organizations, there is the media. We are all part of civil society. And therefore, just as you have done by going into the community for this kind of documentary, when you see these things, you can draw our attention to it, you can draw the attention of government, and then collectively we can work to address it. So the responsibility is for everybody.
So we should expect WOLDAP Ghana to be in Donkokrom soon.
I will not be able to go to Donkokrom because I don't have the resources to go to Donkokrom. I can look at customary practices within the regions I'm working. And of course, we see these things. I mean, we do a lot of legal literacy work, gender training, human rights training for men, women, chiefs, And things are changing. If any donor will give me the money to go to Donkokum to work, I will do that.
Right. Thank you very much. Bennett Sam is Programs Coordinator with WildF Ghana. I told you earlier we will cross over to Tamale to gauge the atmosphere as we approach the IEA presidential debate tomorrow. But in the meantime, President John... Well, I'm told there are some live pictures of preparations towards the debate tomorrow in Tamale, and they are on your screens at the moment. Well, in the meantime, President John Dramani Mahama says government will, in the next few days, launch a major fund to support access to business financing by young people who are desirous of engaging in entrepreneurship. Now, government will provide a 10 million Ghana cedi capital for the Jobs and Enterprises Fund, which will also address funding frustrations of young local business. Elsewhere in business, the New York Stock Exchange will be closed today and provisionally on Tuesday as a safety precaution as the city prepares for the arrival of Hurricane Sandy. The exchange said the hurricane would make it extremely difficult to ensure the safety of their people.
Technology-heavy Nasdaq exchange will also close today. This is the first time in 27 years the stock markets have closed for a full day due to adverse weather. In September 1985, Hurricane Gloria forced the market shutdown. Hundreds of thousands of people in the city have been ordered to leave their homes as the storm approaches. Air France, British Airways and Virgin Atlantic have also grounded all flights to East Coast cities. Nasdaq said it had made the decision to close in consultation with other U.S. exchanges, government officials and regulators, including the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Time now for some showbiz.
Rumors reaching us indicate that Castro under fire is indeed under fire. The gossips say that he's crippled. How this happened? Well, people are saying on Facebook that he refused to thank the gods and the fetish priestess who interceded on his behalf to make his track African Girls a hit. But his managing team reliably informs us that all these are not true. Indeed, Castro twisted his ankle about 6 weeks ago in Canada and got seriously injured. He has since been going through some herbal treatment in Takoradi. According to them, he is currently doing well and can even play his favorite game, football. People, we promise to dig deep and keep you updated. And if any drama unfolds, trust us to catch up with it. Nollywood superstar Osita Oheme, popularly known as Popo, is no doubt flying high in his acting career. Aside doing well on the silver screens, the actor is getting endorsements from all corners as many organizations and individuals want to do business with him. Just recently, the one half of Aki and Popo fame landed an 11 million naira deal in South Africa. Soon after, Popo got himself entangled, as seen in this picture with two ladies in bathtub.
Now, government is expected to provide a 10 million Ghana seed capital for the Jobs and Enterprises Fund, which will also address funding frustrations of young and local businesses.
The fund will be administered at Jobs and Enterprises Centers, JEC, to be established across the country to ease the burden on job seekers and first-time young businessmen and women. President Mahama, who made the announcement at the first National Youth Achievers Awards in Accra, says the fund is expected to add to several interventions by government to address youth unemployment in Ghana.
Expanding the modules under the SWAL NYEP has ensured the creation of as many as 200,000 jobs for our youth. Similarly, we have continued to roll out interventions to mitigate the plight of unemployed youth. In my policy statement to the country upon assumption of office, I announced the creation of 5,000 new jobs for youth within the Savannah Accelerated Development Authority enclave through an afforestation and restoration project that we had launched. In the coming days, government will officially outdoor the Jobs and Youth Development Scheme.
Youth achievers who have excelled in 26 different fields of endeavor were awarded at the ceremony.
That's it for the Midday Brief. Your election headquarters comes up shortly.